And welcome to the podcast show, episode 10 of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. 10. Woo! What? We're number 10. We're number 10. We are in double digits for over 2 months. 8 weeks? It'll be 10 weeks. 8 weeks is 2 months. We have put together 9 episodes so far. This is 10. I think counting is weird because when a child is born, when he's 1, he's already lived a full year. Isn't that crazy? He's already on to 2. However old you are right now, you're older. You're young at heart. Like, whatever you are, if you're an adult, and you're like a grown adult, and you might feel like you're not a super young person anymore. Whatever you are, that's the new 25. Just so you know. And I'm not making that up. Your age is the new 25, unless you're like 65. Nothing at 65, but that's probably like the new 45. Don't you know that? Don't you know that? If you're alive right now, whatever age you are, and you're healthy, that's the new 25. You heard it here first, and I don't just make stuff up. All right? I wouldn't do that to you. I couldn't. Something in me would not let me just make that stuff up. Anyways, when children are born, they're 0, they're months. We don't ever call them 0. I think we should embrace 0 a little more. When Jack turned 1 and we had pictures of him when he wasn't 1, we named the album 0. I think I have to give credit. I don't know who came up with the idea. Maybe his mom, but I thought that was really appropriate. You got to earn your year, buddy. We're all like, he's 3 months, he's 2 weeks. What? You're 0. You're nothing. You haven't lived anything yet. You're only alive because we're here taking care of you. That's the opposite thing that happens. Can you imagine a child being born and instead of ever being like, oh, well, like, you got to earn this. You got to earn this, buddy. You're 0. And you're the closest, the next you're going to be is 1. And 1 is the lowest number of all the numbers. It's so weird that we just welcome children into the world with no hazing at all. And then when they grow up and go to high school or college, we're like, well, now it gets tough. It's like, well, why should it get hard now? You know? That's crazy. It should have been, get it all out when you can't remember it anymore. That's what I think. That's what I think they should do. Kids can't remember 0, 1, 2. They can't remember. They just can't. We can't remember a lot, too. It's crazy how we don't know what we don't. You don't know what you don't remember. I don't know what I don't remember. I mean, I know my earliest memory. There's 1 or 2 that we were in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was like 3 years old. I know this is what you guys really want to know. I was 3 years old. I think I was 3 because we lived in Cleveland, Ohio, and my dad was coming to get me out of the crib. So maybe I was younger than that, but I guess you don't have to be out of a crib until you're climbing out of the crib. So maybe they just like put me in there for like a nap or something, and I was like, I'm not having it. Jack was out of the crib, I think, before 3. So maybe I was just a slow developer. And I also remember running around the outside of the house at 3. I believe 3 was my earliest memory. But that's just like 2 days, probably. Maybe it could have been the same day where just like everything clicked. But before that, all that year, the year after, very few specific memories. And it's so weird because when we're with our kids now, when I'm with Jack, like I'm remembering stuff and I'm like, he's not going to have this at all. So I got to start writing it down. I did that when he was 0. No, when he was starting to make noises, and talk and stuff, I started writing things down that he would say, because I thought pictures, I love pictures. Don't get me wrong. Seriously, podcast audience, YouTube, fellow person who hasn't changed the channel yet. No. Why would you? I think the average is about 5 minutes right now. So we're still here. You're still here. Thank you for engaging with me, YouTube person. I got a thing recently from a friend and a fan. If you're my fan at this point in my career, you're a friend. Thank you. Even if we haven't really met in person, you're a friend. I don't know if I would like trust you to watch my kid. Not that you aren't trustworthy. You probably are. It's just as a parent, if you just give your kid to somebody because they click like on a YouTube, you probably shouldn't. Shouldn't be a parent by yourself, or whatever. You shouldn't be allowed to decide stuff. But a friend and a fan reached out and said that they didn't have time to listen or watch the podcast for its current length, and they said I should divide it up into multiple sections. And I don't think it's a bad idea, but I do think there are people in my life who struggle to figure out how to watch it once. In one place. So I don't think multiplying that by 4 would be good for that crowd. And those are the people who are the new 45. Not old, but older than YouTube. I got to respond to my fan friend, because I was like, I think, and maybe it's just because I subscribe to YouTube, or like I have like a thing, because Jack really loves specific songs. And YouTube allows us to get access to those songs right away. So we pay. Not a big deal. This isn't an ad. I mean, if I had ads, this whole thing might be different. Maybe I'll have ads someday. What do you think about ads? This isn't an ad, but drink this, eat this. I would say don't eat or drink anything unless you're hungry or thirsty. That's my ad for your health, for your life. Isn't it nice that I know how to use the microphone now? I was watching an old video. By the way, I'm wearing a shirt, if you're listening, that I wore a couple episodes ago. So if you go through the YouTube pages, you might get confused. This is just a soft shirt. This is also I thought I heard a neighbor. This is a very late night podcast. We'll get into that later. Like if this was the Tonight Show or late night, which that could be an old reference for the young fans out there, young fan friends, like the people who are the new 21 or whatever. I don't know. In your 20s, you're just in your 20s. But this is like late night. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to divide it up yet. Also, that's a lot of dividing up for me. And, this is all homegrown. But I think on YouTube, it lets you save where you're at on a video. So I got to message my friend and see if that's not possible, because that was my experience. Because I want to keep it all together. I like seeing how long it is too, I know some people, when they're watching a video or listening to something, they're like, my time is valuable. And I get that for sure. And this podcast is not for them. If you care about what you're getting accomplished in the next hour, I'm sorry. But the reason I started the podcast is for people who wanted something to listen to while they did other things. So, and the videos are just sort of an easy way to like not have to download it to your phone. But anyway, those 0-year-olds, right? We should be hazing them more? No. I started carrying a book around. I'm already lost. Isn't that funny? I'm trying to adjust, make sure everything's okay. I'm wearing an old shirt, not old shirt, but a short. This is the first repeat shirt of the podcast, episode 6, I believe, because I was just looking at that episode to put a clip out. I'm putting some clips out on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. I'm posting every day, not from this episode. So if you're watching this episode, don't expect to see clips because you already saw it. I mean, maybe if something happens right now, if I just say like, oh, blah, blah, and I'm like, that's viral, if I do it, then maybe I'll put it up there. But this is the first shirt that I've repeated wearing. And I didn't plan on it. I just did it. I wore it today because it's soft and it's baseball season, and it says Tropicana Field. I really like the Tropicana Field in Tampa because it's indoors, and everybody gets it a hard time. A lot of people give it a hard time because it's inside, and I liked it when I visited. Yeah, because it was about baseball. I like things that are about the thing. This is a podcast, and you don't also have to get a suntan while you listen to it. You can, though. That's good. I'm not against suntans, right? They're good. If you're listening to this, like I title my videos now in my podcast. I always have. Well, the first couple were like, this is the 7th one or something like that. But I've started to put topics on there, and I think it might be a little misleading because some people might listen to them or watch them and be like, when is he going to get to that part? And maybe I haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, I recommend this to all parents. This is the parenting part of the I Just Got My Kid to Sleep podcast. If you have a child who's no longer 0 and saying things, I feel like saying things is the best. But I bet when Jack was 0, he did some stuff that was writing worthy. A lot of it's visual, I feel like, when they're babies. But what I like about writing stuff down is that you have the image in your brain. And when you look at pictures and videos and stuff, that kind of replaces the memory for me. Maybe not other people. Maybe I did have two concussions in my life, so maybe that's why. Yeah, I had 2. You want that story? Okay, I'll tell you. Both were fine. I'm fine. One was sledding. I was sledding, and I don't think I should just go into stories because I think of them. But this is good. I was in Indiana, the town I grew up in. We never got a ton of snow until my junior year of high school. We got school canceled because of snow for a few days. And that's like a troublesome year for you to get school canceled for the parents, because I had friends that had driver's licenses, and so it was too dangerous to go to school, but we were still going out and playing in the snow. And my friend Chad had like an SUV with like 4-wheel drive, and like we would get stuck and someone would pull us out, and it was like this whole thing. And anyways, I went sledding, and there was this hill off to the side of the hill, and it had a huge ramp on the bottom. And I remember being at the top. This is a memory I have. I don't have memory of the actual accident, but I remember being at the top of this like side hill that was very steep and not as tall as the main hill, but very steep. And at the bottom was a huge ramp and kind of all frozen over. And I looked at my friend Graham, who was a little crazier than me. I feel like a little more of a risk taker. He climbed a water tower. Am I not supposed to say that, Graham? Do they not know? Do the people not know? And I was like, you can go first. And he looked at me and he's like, no, you can go first. I think I looked at my friend Brett, and it was the same way. And I was like, all right. Because I think there was something inside of me. This is why I don't know how to parent my kid necessarily, other than writing stuff down. That's a good idea. But that's just for me. Because my parents were pretty strict when it came to a lot of life, and conservative in the sense that, like, I was not stay out late. Like, I was always, which I don't think is bad. You know, I didn't have any traumatic things happen, so that was good. And I didn't, do a lot of the stuff that might get kids, in trouble or whatever. But also, like, I had this rebelliousness that I was never allowed, that it couldn't really come out in any, like, way that might be a little more normal, for that age. So I was like, well, these 2 kids who are like cooler than me are, people might laugh if they know those people. They were cooler than me for sure. It's just funny to think of people who you knew really well as like cool, because I feel like at that age, boys at least, I feel like we're not, unless you're like really cool, which I don't. I feel like when you're a kid, you think high schoolers are cool, but like looking back at the teenage years, there was nothing really cool about it. Maybe like teenagers were cool when like 25 was like being 45. But when I was in high school, teenagers were like, we were teenagers, we were awkward and weird. And I feel like girls matured a little faster, so they probably were more cool. But we're just trying to figure out anything. Anyway, I felt cool being like, I'll go down this hill, Because here's a wholesome event that I was allowed to do, sledding on a day off, and I was allowed to be cooler in the sense like, I'll do this thing, and I shouldn't have. And my dad told me that later. He was like, when you do a hill like that, you gotta start like closer to the bottom so you can really feel how it works. Anyways, I was at the top of this hill, and the year before, I've told this story before. This is the way it goes. Isn't that weird? Do you have stories like that? Do you have this is the real story, is the story about the story. Do you have stories that you've told people in your life, and where you're going to go, and you still feel like this isn't important. Like the story is fun, and the fact is important to the story, but it doesn't feel like it serves anybody in telling that part other than me defending why this semi-traumatic thing happened. Physically traumatic. It wasn't really traumatic, but I'm going to say the part that I've said every time I've told the story, and never it has been funny, never it has been enlightening. All it did was the thoughts that were going on in my brain before my first brain concussion of my life that I remember. When I was in college, after my second concussion, non-sledding related, I ran into my friend Zach, and it was my senior year of college. And we'll get into the other part first later. Everything's gonna happen later. I can't turn back time right now. We talked about that, right? Did we talk about how I can't turn back time? My son would like to. Jack learned about the presidents. I learned about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, and I think some other people. But he found out George Washington was the first president, and he painted a picture of George Washington for his teacher, and maybe she was confused. But I was like, that's so nice. Out of his own brain, thought, I want to give this to my teacher who taught me about George Washington. So he had me pull up a picture of George Washington on my phone, and then he drew George Washington onto his picture. And I'm saying it's George Washington, and I don't know if you'd know it was George Washington if you didn't know it was George Washington, but you might. I mean, it kind of looked like other presidents that we've had recently, but it was like the hair was white and it was the skin it was drawn like a person kind of. I wish I had it, but here's why I don't have that picture, and I wish I did. This is the biggest regret of my last couple months. It's not a regret because I didn't really have control over it, but we did this painting together. I love when Jack paints because I feel like my home becomes a school. You know, it's like we do all this stuff that's clearly just for fun. Like, and it's not even, it's just things he wants to do. Like we go playgrounds, we play video games, and it's like clearly there's no value here other than just like having fun, which is very valuable, 100%. And also like spending time with each other, which is also very valuable, which is why we do it. But when we can like do all that and like do a craft, this is where this trophy comes from, because of the art that we've done. What do parents do with the artwork of their children? Because I have stacks of things from his school, and like I'm not a person who easily throws stuff away. I think I'll be able to do it next year when I see what he's producing next year. And how, like, you know, how it's progressed. I'll be able to throw away a lot of it. But right now I'm just like, I just can't be the guy, you know? I'm good at getting rid of my stuff, I feel like. But memories, that's been the biggest, not regret. We've already went through that. But biggest challenge so far has been, like, of him being 5 years old is, like, he's got a past now. And he doesn't want to get rid of anything. And I get that because he doesn't know how long life can be yet, you know, because 0 was just right around the corner, the back corner, reverse corner. He was recently 0. So he has this like scarcity mentality that I had growing up too, of like, I don't have enough because I never had anything. And so he doesn't want to get rid of it. And he still likes playing with his old stuff, his old toys or whatever. But how do I get rid of all this stuff? I could just put it away and get rid of some of it. Like part of me, when his teachers hand me, he's in preschool, but they do stuff. When his teachers hand me all of this stuff, I'm just like, I wish you weren't learning so much. Like part of me wishes like a very small, but it's like, why are you doing so much work? Like you're 4/5. You don't need to be burdening my house with your cute learning experiences. I don't have a thought, brain, room, idea. Those are just words. That's not even a sentence. A place in my brain to understand how to compartmentalize, to place all of the adorable little things you are making right now in your brain and putting on paper. Today, he wanted to make a schedule. He's really into like doing what he wants all the time. Is your child at that age where they want to do what they want to do all the time? But he's already working through the logistics and the politics of it all. Because when he was very young, I talked about, well, like, here's our schedule. So now he just jumps on it when we go home. He's like, we're going to do our schedule. And it's kind of nice because while I'm getting like groceries put away or whatever, he asks me how to spell certain words because he knows how to write letters kind of, but he doesn't know how to read or write. So he's like writing out a schedule for me, basically for us. And it's like, he knows he's really good with letters that don't have a specific direction, because he'll do like T and he'll be like, is that like this? And I'll be like, no, it's like this. Or I'll be like, just a top, not a bottom. Cause like he drew it with his finger. Some people are just listening to this, and it's the most adorable thing. And I like those cause I can just remember them. I don't have to like throw them away. My favorite was he has crayons in his tub that are water crayons. Target right now. This isn't an ad. There's no ads, but Target has $3 crayons for your bathtub, which really makes me feel like a super dad. Because now when your kid is drawing in the bathtub, now not only are they bathing, right? Oh no, he lost his cape. I was holding up my trophy in front of the screen. I have super dad trophy. Now not only are they getting clean, they're doing a thing they have to do before they go to bed. Not only are they doing that, they are also doing a craft. Two things. And not only are they doing a craft, they're doing a craft that is like sand art. It will go away. There's no way to save it. What am I going to do? If he draws something beautiful, am I going to cut it out and put it in a new bathtub? No way. Not a budget for that. Even if he draws a rendition of a Mona Lisa, even if he, is a new Monet, Picasso, that is going away. You can do it again later when you're older, because that's going threefold: getting clean and doing a craft, and I don't have to put it anywhere. Super. No, that's why I feel that way. I'm not saying it makes me super, but Target has these crayons, and he was telling me how he's being taught to do letters, which was very, very, very fun. I don't think I talked about this yet. I do talk about, I'm not sure if I talk about things, and I think that I haven't talked about this yet. He does, it reminded me of like my high school football coaches. The way he's taught how to do letters and the way he shares it with me it reminds me a lot of high school football practice. Because when I was in high school, our coach, Pullman, at the time, my first 3 years, I'm sure my senior year coach did too, linear, but I remember the first 3 years because I didn't know anything. So I really, it was every day was a new thing. Our coach would come in and he would write out a play that we're going to work on in practice today. And he'd be like, you're going to do this. I don't want to see this. And I don't want to see this. And I want to see this. I want to see this. And that's the way Jack's teachers teach him how to write letters. Jack would take the crayon and draw on he's like, this is an A. And then he would do it, and he'd be like, I don't want to see this. And he'd be like upside down. I don't want to see this. And I don't want to see this. It was just like, what a like direct way to talk to a 4 or 5 year old about letters. Like, listen, buddy, I don't want to see these mistakes. As if they don't have time to fix it. Like, you're going out into, you're already 4 or 5. You're going to be in kindergarten next year. You can't go into kindergarten with these upside down. I don't know. I don't give a lot of weight to being prepared for the future, because I feel like the best way to live your life is to live it for now. I've definitely talked about that before. Like, yeah, whatever you get from these letters, I'm sure these kindergartens are not going to be like, you got to go back. I don't think they can. I don't think kindergarten is where it starts. Kindergarten is where it starts. So if you get to kindergarten and you somehow are expected to know a thing you don't know, there's nowhere they can send you. They just have to teach it to you again. So I think this is the one time in your life where you can do A's like V's or whatever. Anyway, Jack knows his letters, but he does backwards ones because he's constantly like doing it in the sky. And then when he puts it on paper, it's like the wrong way. And he also, when he writes sentences, it's just the letters all over the place, and it's not like words. Anyway, that's how he does his schedule, so we can do things. And that's when I feel also like a super dad, because not only am I getting groceries put away and getting ready to be ready for, the end of the day. It's weird how when we get home, and parents, non-parents even, but I think it's definitely like a job thing, whether it's being a parent or any job. It's interesting to me how I look forward to, not in the sense of like, I don't like what I'm doing right now, but I know the things I have to do at the end of the day for Jack. Not have to, but the things that probably will happen. I know those things. Those things that he's established that he likes to do are, we're going to eat, and maybe he'll help me cook. And then that's like a humble, like, he's done that a couple of times. When he was younger, I could get him to do more stuff. My mom said that about me. I gotta sneeze. Oh, shit, sorry. Don't go anywhere, viewers. I'm not going back to edit that out. This is me being like, stay with me. Come back. I'm here. I was just a sneeze, Sneezing's weird. And if you want to hear about that, come to my stand-up comedy show in Lexington, Kentucky at Comedy Off-Broadway. Like, only if you live in Lexington, Kentucky. I'll be there Friday and Saturday. 2 shows each night. If you don't live there, I travel a lot. You should not travel to that show unless it's like nearby, because I'm doing Cincinnati in the summer and the fall, and I'm doing, I don't know if Louisville, so you should come from Louisville or somewhere in Kentucky, but I'm doing Nashville also, and Asheville and other places. But you can hear my theories on sneezing. I'm not going to give it to you right now. I'm not going to, because it's already something I talk about in my stand-up comedy, and that's a live experience. And I don't want to rob you. How do I see my finger in the camera? I don't want to rob you of that emotional journey with me live. So, teaser, spoiler, whatever you want. If you want to hear my philosophical takes, my theoretical things, I can't believe I don't do other people's podcasts. This is so productive for this show. If you want to hear that, you're going to have to come to a live show or wait until I record it and put it out, which it will be a long time because it's the new one. Right now, I've recorded an hour of stand-up comedy, and that's kind of we're working on putting it out, and that sneezing bit isn't even on there. So I remember when I first heard stand-up comedy, it was like a Jerry Seinfeld CD, and or whatever it was. It had to be a CD. I don't think it was a tape. And my parents had Bill Cosby records. Well, that's not on me. I didn't know or play them for myself. Other people did. But Jerry Seinfeld's opening jokes on those CDs were all about like flying and getting somewhere. And I was like, oh, he just thought of that today. And I just kind of ruined that. If you come see a show and you hear me talking about sneezing, you're going to know at least that part of the show that I've talked about before. Which maybe it will be less fun. It's fun. I like it when people come to the show and it all feels like the first time for everything. That's the job, right? And sometimes it is. Sometimes it is the first time. But, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Jack writes out a schedule, and I feel good because we're writing, and now we're also doing that. And then we do the things on the schedule. And I know all the things we have to do on the schedule already. He doesn't have to write them down because we do them every time. He likes to do some sort of video games, which I get it. Oh, yeah, that was kind of a thing. I say Jack helps me cook. He has, but, like, I'm not going to be this, like, parent that I appreciate these parents on social media that do a lot of stuff with their kids like that, where they're like, I saw a reel recently where they're like, kids don't know the difference between like toys and just like doing chores basically with their parents because they just want to hang out with you. Everything can be a game to a kid. And I feel like that was true until Jack found video games. Now he's like, this is not. I have video of him squirting a window and then wiping it clean at an age where like the bottle of cleaner, it was all natural. Don't worry. I think he's fine. I don't know. His letters are backwards, but I think that's just like a normal a normal thing. Like, I don't think that's because of the window mist. He was like cleaning windows for me. Now not so much. But we got a schedule. We do. He likes video games a lot, and we do that for a little bit together. So it's interactive. It's not just like a screen, and not judging. I know people have to give screens to their kids. I feel like if this podcast were a shape, it would just be like a circle that's like spinning, and it's like going inside of itself, and then all of a sudden it's like also over here in another shape. Like it shoots through a black hole in this universe, and it's like, oh, now we're over here. I just been watching some scientific reels. I forget the guy's name. He's like the most famous science guy who also has the name of like a TV show from when I was a kid, or before my time even, maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying I watch the Instagram videos where they're like all cooking and stuff. He has helped sometimes, but usually it's like we're gonna play video games and I'm gonna cook. He's gonna play with his toys or write or color, and then we're gonna eat, and then and he's probably gonna eat. Today he had. It's so weird because like when I think of dessert, I can't remember what it was like to be that age and eating dessert, so I don't know the right amount. Or if any, like his doctor was like, just do nothing, just don't have anything in the house. And I'm just like, oh, that's probably best. But now we do, and it's kind of late to change that. Not late, we can always change it. But like I don't remember being that young and little, and then eating something with sugar in it, and then feeling how it feels. Like today, he had like the icing and some of a cupcake, and then but we also went to the grocery store. And at this grocery store, they give you the kid lollipops if he finds like a stuffed tiger somewhere. And he didn't even find it this time. He did not even find. We looked for it. The whole thing, I think, is to get the kid to like be distracted while the parent is shopping, so they can buy stuff without the kid running around everywhere. And it works. But he didn't even find the tiger. And then he was like, "I can't find the tiger, Dad. It's like a stuffed animal tiger." His name is Wesley. And maybe they have one at every Trader Joe's. But this one, I just felt like it was weird not saying the grocery store name. That's why I said it. I feel like you could feel that right now because I hadn't said it so much. But that's the only one that does that. I don't know any other grocery store that's like, find this thing and we'll give you a lollipop or a sucker or whatever. I call them suckers. Jack calls them lollipops. I wasn't allowed to say suck as a kid in a negative way, so maybe that's how I got it out. Sucker. And then I could get that out, and then maybe I wouldn't. Maybe that's why I didn't have as many other concussions. I hope we'll get back to that. If we don't, I'm gonna blame the concussions. Jack didn't even find Wesley. He didn't. Can you believe that? We went to Trader Joe's and we went all around, and he was looking, and then it got to the point where he was like, "Dad, I can't find." He was like, "I love how kids can be like visibly nervous or scared or that does sound weird to be like, I love it when kids are stressed. But I do love it. It's adorable when kids, it's to see the innocence of them believing like, Dad, if I don't find Wesley, then I don't get a lollipop. And part of me, the dad that's like, well, let's not have sugar right before we go home and eat or play video game and then eat. It's like, yeah, you don't get him until you find Wesley. If that's the thing, if you don't find Wesley, there's no lollipops, buddy. That's the rules here, and I'm sorry, but maybe that's why. Maybe your senses aren't sharp enough to find a stuffed animal in a grocery store where there's no other stuffed animals and it's on the like above you somewhere. If you can't find that, then maybe your body can't take the sucrose and the fructose and the glucose of a lollipop right now. Maybe your body's not ready for that, and don't I'm not going to say deserve because that could be harsh, but maybe you don't need it, nor do you get it. Or double negative. I don't know. But as a parent, you can't really do that. He just has, I feel like at age 5, kids, he has expectations. He have a way thing goes in his brain. And if I decide to go against it, which is fine, and I should do it more, then I just have to know that there's going to be an adjustment period. And by adjustment period, I mean like possible like screaming and minor physical violence. It's weird. I don't remember being that age. I said that a lot. I remember saying that a lot this episode, so that's not concussion-y. But he has like, when he gets really angry now, he'll like softly, it's cute, he'll like have a fist and he'll softly like bang my arm or my chest, and I have to be like very stern, like don't hit. Like I kind of want to be like, as a parent, I know almost very little, nothing. I know almost nothing. The only one thing I do know is you can't do that. That's a slippery slope. Violence is a slippery whoever came up with slippery slope, they should have like tried to trademark that, because I use it a lot. It's got alliteration. I'm sure tons of people do, but I don't know if that's how trademarks work. I don't think you can just make money off of people using it in their podcasts. Is there like an alert gonna come up maybe in the YouTube thing, like, oh, we got Palsac, he's thrown out slippery slope, we're gonna have to shadow ban. Is that what that's called? I don't really know what that is. Whenever I hear that someone's been shadow banned, I feel like they're like, I'm in G.I. Joes or something. I feel like there'd be a character there. I'm crossing a lot of demographics right now. All from like the 45 now to 20. Yeah, it's 25, and like you're 35. Oh, you're 25. That's 25 nowadays. Anyway, he's gonna be upset if something changes, and that's totally fine. But it's like, am I willing? Do I know enough to know that that is going to cause him harm, to like make that a problem, to adjust that? And I don't. I really don't. Like if it was right before bed, I know sugar right before bed is bad. But I also know like he's pretty physically active and it's already in his life. He knows what it is. And I like it. That's, I think, what it is. I don't really eat suckers or anything. But he didn't find Wesley. And he got worried. He was like, Dad, I haven't found it. And then inside I'm like, oh no. But I'm like also like laugh, like, like I'm loving the commitment to the bit. Because to him, it's not a bit. It's like it's his whole reason for being here. Like, I don't think he thinks that finding Wesley is good for Wesley, or it's good for Trader Joe's, or it's good for anybody else. And I don't think he cares. He just knows that he finds Wesley and he can tell the right people where it is, then he will get a lollipop. And I've accepted those terms. I don't go to Trader Joe's all the time because, I don't, like, I'm not going to, but I think it's also nice to know that he's not going to get a sucker going somewhere else. Just as a parent, to be like, we got to slow down this sugar train. But isn't that like the time where you can process all that stuff anyways? Are we all worried about this as parents because we're afraid of being bad parents? Sometimes I feel like that's my main stress and pain as a parent, is just being like upset about or worried about me letting him do something that might not have any effect on him, but just makes me feel like if it does, then, oh, I didn't do my job. Like, I love him, but I ruined him. Like, that seems like the main reason that I get thrown off as a parent, is because he's doing something that I've allowed him to do that might be bad in some small way, but it's also more about me being like, I could have stopped him. And I think it's part of it's like, I don't know. Because I think, which I've kind of explored probably before in some way on the podcast, the not stopping him, and then letting them have some of the things in life sort of might prevent a little bit the sort of relapse. Like there was a girl in my college, one of my friends, very nice person, and she wasn't allowed to have sugar cereal all growing up at all. And then when she got to college, like she ate that every day. I don't know about all day, but every day she had sugar cereal. So it's like, is that, I mean, I'm sure it's going to add up, you know? We only did sugar cereal on the weekends. And now they have like healthy sugar cereal, so it's confusing with like real like beet juice or whatever. So it's like, are these good for him now? I feel like anytime he wants something, I'm like, well, it probably can't be that great for him. Anyway, he didn't find Wesley, and he's worried about it. He's just like, Dad, I didn't find Wesley. And I'm dramatizing it a little bit, but it's because I'm not a good enough actor to portray the real emotion that was inside of him. Like it was real. And I get it because that's his sole reason for being there. And I think what I was trying to say earlier, like he realizes he doesn't care whether it's good for the Tiger or Trader Joe's or me or anybody. He just knows what he gets when he gets this thing. And so I'm like, all right, we'll ask. So we go to this Trader Joe's worker, 2 of them. And we were like, hey, we can't find the Tiger. Is there any hints? Because sometimes they give hints. He's like, Dad, can we ask for a hint? And so I go up to him, and Jack asks. I was like, well, Jack, why don't you ask? He's like, can we get a hint of where the Tiger is? And they looked at me, not like I was crazy, but they got what I was going for, but they didn't know either. The people that worked there all day didn't know. Wesley moves around so much that maybe they're trying to make sure they don't get lollipops. But I like lollipop better than sucker now. The word, it just feels better. They didn't know. They didn't know where he was. And they were like, you could tell that their lollipops were not dependent upon whether they found Wesley. I could be sure of that. Like they were definitely comfortable in their lollipop situation because there was no panic at all. They were just like, well, we're back here and we don't see him, so he's probably up front. And then they said to Jack, if you tell the people up front that you looked really hard, I bet they'll give you one anyway. Which I understand that thought process. And as a parent, I kind of appreciate it. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to be like, you didn't find him. There's no lollipops. That's the rule. Because I love it when there's like a hard, fast thing like that. Not with something as small as that, with kind of no reason behind it. Because I think kids kind of can understand when this is a game and you're just messing with me now. Like, I don't really want a kid to like really believe he's going to get a lollipop and then really feel horrible that all he had to do was find this stupid tiger. I love tigers. Worldwide Wildlife Federation. Zoos are awesome. But this like stuffed animal tiger is somewhere and I couldn't find it. And now I don't get it. Like, I don't want... There's enough of that in life. You know, you play Little League, you strike out, you don't get a hit. Like, that's there. That's part of it. Someone else will. There's no reason for Wesley to win. The Tiger. I think his name's Wesley. There's no reason for him to win. That's not what Trader Joe's is about. That's not what going to the grocery store is about. And I think Jack knows that. And every kid knows that. That if Wesley wins, nobody wins. It's for the kids. It's for the kids. I'm pretty sure this podcast is going to be titled Finding Wesley at Trader Joe's. And people are going to listen to the beginning and be like, when does this happen? I'm really into this story. Anyway, we don't find Wesley. We go up to the front and we pass on the information that the workers at Trader Joe's tell us. And the lady at the front was like, she's very sympathetic to the cause. But she's not going to give up the lollipop super easy either. She doesn't just give him one for trying. She's like, I think if you look over there, which I like. I like that commitment to the bit or whatever. Not the bit. The exchanging of goods. You find Wesley, you get a lollipop. That's the way it is. If we just start giving out lollipops for trying, then kids are not going to be behaving that much in the grocery store. They're going to be like, who cares? I don't need to find them. I'm going to run around and knock stuff over. There are way less, what's it called? When you try foods at Trader Joe's these days. Like when I was younger, there would always be food to try. And there hasn't been very many lately. Maybe it's a smaller one. Maybe Joe's just trading now. No more free samples. That's what it's called. Whole Foods has been having more free samples lately. If you give a free sample to a kid, you've sold him on that. And if he has any connection to the parent's wallet, which my son does literally today in a different story, like any influence at all on the parent, it's bought, it's purchased. If I was doing free samples at a grocery store, I'd say adults, fine. But anytime you can give that kid something for free, that the parents into the like wants the kid to smile, it's sold. Every time we've done a free sample, I bought it because Jack, it's like, and it's usually like kind of stuff like corn chips that like, oh, that's not bad to eat. It's a good snack. Anyways, Jack found Wesley with a hint, and he got the lollipop and stickers, 2 things, and he was holding it, and he didn't even help bag this time. Usually, if we don't find Wesley, he'll help me bag. Like, that's the first time we really remembered Wesley, because they were like, I didn't know enough about it, but they were like, you didn't find Wesley, but he like helped bag stuff, which was fun. I'm taking credit for that. Sure, we're not cooking all the time, but I think it's important that if you're checking out at a grocery store and there's not someone to bag your groceries, or even if there is, that you should just help, because it makes the other person maybe feel better. I don't know, but I just think it's important. And that's one thing that I taught my son is just because you're a customer doesn't mean that you can't also be a human. Super dude. We're celebrating our victories and our losses today. He had a carrot cake, cupcake, and Oreos. Those are the losses. And I don't know about losses, but he definitely was up late. This is a late podcast. This is tomorrow already. I just got my kid to sleep, and what are you doing? So he got the lollipop, right? He gets the stickers. Didn't help bag, but they were doing it. I was doing it. He was really looking at it. They gave him the lollipop before the bagging was done. He was just staring at it. He didn't even open it yet. And then we go out on the way to the car, and I open up the lollipop for him, and he doesn't. It's red, which isn't his favorite color, but that's fine. But like part of it was kind of like wasn't like as good. It was kind of like not a full circle anymore, and he was a little disappointed. And that was just, it didn't ruin it for him. He still ate the whole thing right away. But that's just a good reminder that like the thing that your kid is screaming about is probably about something else. They're just trying to fill a hole like anybody else, I guess, inside. And that's like, I don't think it was about the lollipop. It was about like, I think he was hungry for dinner, and I didn't have groceries lined up for that yet. So he was like, I don't know how to handle this. Not that I had snacks for him, people. I had snacks. We had applesauce available, and yeah, so there was, and veggie straws or whatever. There was options. But like, I've noticed when I'm hungry, I'm like, well, I think it's a good time to have dessert. So then we're going out, and he's eating this lollipop that he's happy with, but it's not as perfect as he thought it was. And I'm like guiding him and the grocery cart, and in the alley behind the Trader Joe's in my neighborhood is kind of like beat up, you know, like they gotta fix. I never thought about it, but I was like, this is the only way to get to my car, and it was like, I went around to the front of the cart to pull it so I could hold his hand, and the whole cart just tipped over, and then I swore, because that I think is the only thing you can do, and he didn't hear it. He didn't hear it and remember it. I think, I'm sure it's gonna come out. I don't swear a lot as a person, but like when all of the groceries you just purchased, when you went to the store for like 2 things and you fill the cart and then it spills out because the alley isn't paved at all, and like that's probably their alley, you know, this is the way. And like parents take their kids, like Wesley, don't have the Wesley game if you don't want people to bring their kids. So now I got to bring this thing out, and it tips over, and I only lost 2 eggs. And I think one of my kombucha broke. So very minor casualties. But at the time, I was like turning into my dad, like just freaking out on the inside. Not screaming or anything, but just like what else could go wrong. And 2 people came over at different times, and they were like, do you need help? Which I was like, I didn't say no. I think that would have been mean to do that. But I did say, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. But I think if someone's full cart of groceries tips over in an alley and they have like a 5-year-old by the hand, just start pitching in. Because there's a chance that the person that you asked if they wanted help might have their own issues about help in life and doing things for themselves. And they might say no when what they really need to say is, yeah, of course, this is crazy. I've never seen a grocery cart tip over like that. It was insane. I guess, I don't know what it was. Maybe I got too much. I don't know what it was. It was a full cart, but it just all tipped. And it's just weird because it's like you go from being a person that's providing food to your family to like picking food up the ground. Like you don't even, you might just be a person who's like putting, like it's just good. It was all good. I only lost a couple things. And two people asked, and I was like, no, I'm good. As if like, but clearly I'm like, there's groceries on the ground. Like, I don't know. I was talking to Jack about it because he was like, but you did need help, Dad. That's what he said. He's like, why did you say no? You did need help. And I think that's a good lesson that we can all have, is that like that's what these lessons are for. Everybody, not me. This isn't a lesson for just me. How would I? Clearly, I learned this because everybody. I'm sure if like 100 people, which helps out for this percentage analogy, were to like spill their groceries on the ground and people came over to like, do you need help? I would say like 98 of them would be like, I was going to say 98%. That's 98. Would be like, yeah, I do. Thank you. Why did I say no? I mean, I did handle it, but I think parents, I think I need to be a little more open to the fact that there might be some moments where I can be offered help and I can say yes, and that's okay. I think part of me feels like I don't want to owe anybody anything, but that's not even a realistic fear at that point, you know? Like if someone else spilled their groceries, I would help them in a second, you know? And so there's no owing there. It's not like it was all safe. It was just like, I think part of it's too, like when you're out with your kid in public, you don't want people to know how little control you have over the current situation and how much you realize in like an instant it can all go south, and be like a real tragedy. And so when anybody it's like, I feel like when I was in high school, my friend Jason Roth had a really good story that he told at graduation about falling while he's rollerblading, and how like your first instinct is like, is anybody looking, you know? And I always thought that, I think that's what it was. It was like, did anybody see it? Because it was clearly the alley. I'm not blaming me on that. I mean, I didn't have control over it enough because I went to the front to pull it. So it did flip over because I was the one doing it. But it was clearly like crazy that this alley was so destroyed and we're supposed to push carts through it full of groceries that we purchased at the full price, Trader Joe's price, very reasonable, but still full price. Super dad. He's not a super now. But anyway, yeah. That was it. I'm not chopping this episode up, so I hope you can hit pause and get back to whenever you want. Or if you listen to the whole thing, I really appreciate it. Maybe you're an artist and you're painting. That's what I always thought. A college student, when I used to do a lot of colleges, told me that they spend a lot of time as art students listening to podcasts because music gets old. So maybe you have a drive, maybe you're an artist, or maybe if you don't have those things, you can be like, oh, that's something I can do. But I really appreciate everybody that's listening and being a part of this. I am on Instagram at Michael Palasak, and I'm posting stuff all the time, every day. Check it out. You can check out this podcast on YouTube or on my Buzzsprout website. But if you're already listening to it, then you've already done that, and I appreciate it. I say appreciate, but I don't know if that's really super accurate, you know? I like it that people listen. I like that. But I like that people let me know stuff. That's my favorite part, because you can see the numbers or whatever. But I really like when people talk to me about it. So thank you for the people who have talked to me about it. And if you haven't talked to me about it, that's fine too. I just appreciate you less. If my parents are listening, thank you for figuring that out. I got a lot to be grateful for. All right. The end. That's how I'm gonna end these. If you want to vote on something different, Dr. Teeth says good night. Good night. I love you. The end. The end. The